The ingredients that we'll be using today for that pan-seared Chilean sea bass and the tomato basil sauce are gonna be our lemon juice. We've got our coconut oil to pan-sear with, some white wine, our house seasoning, which you can use salt, pepper, and a little garlic salt at home. We've got our red pepper chili flakes, fresh garlic, fresh lemon zest. I have some tomatoes that I grew in my garden, as well as some basil that I got from my garden too. And then we have our Chilean sea bass. Just taking a second to appreciate this fresh basil as well as my tomatoes, because I grew those from scratch and I am pretty darn proud about it. For the cherry tomatoes, you just want to cut those all in half. Even if you had some regular tomatoes, those would still work too. But these just look prettier when all is said and done at the end of the recipe. For the basil, we are just gonna give that a little rough chop. You just want little slivers. You don't want the pieces too big, but they don't all have to be tiny either. So just right in between. The oil is heating in the pan here, and you want to heat it on about a medium heat. And then we are just gonna add our garlic. And we are also gonna add some red pepper flakes. And we're just gonna cook this for a minute or two, or until your garlic becomes translucent. Our garlic has sweated out a little bit. We've got our red pepper flakes in there. And we're just gonna add these tomatoes. Now we are gonna cook these tomatoes till they're blistered, but still intact and not falling apart. And that's gonna be about 10 to 12 minutes. So about 12 minutes has passed. If you see these tomatoes, you see they're nice and mushy, but you see that they're still intact. They still have a little bit of their shape. So at this point, we are gonna go ahead and add that wine into there. Now we're gonna bring this wine back up to a simmer, which will only take about a minute or two here. So that wine has come up to simmer, and we are just gonna go ahead and add our last few ingredients here to this sauce, which is gonna be our fresh lemon juice. We've got our lemon zest. And then we also have our basil. And then at this point, we're gonna go ahead and season a little bit more as well. This is my house mix. Just remember a little salt, pepper, garlic powder in there. And then I like mine a little spicy, so I'm gonna hit it with just a little bit more of that crushed red pepper flakes. And we're just gonna let this simmer for another 2 minutes before we take it off the heat. The sauce is all done here. We are gonna go ahead and take this off the heat while we go ahead and sear that Chilean sea bass. But see, it's a nice consistency there. Just naturally it thickens up a little bit. And just make sure you taste it and adjust your seasoning accordingly for how you would like it. But this is what it should look like at the end. So after I tasted my sauce here, the sauce is absolutely delicious. And if you've been cooking stuff with Starla McGee, you'll notice that all the time I get a little inventive while I'm cooking. And right now I just decided to add a little bit of heavy cream to this sauce because I just think it's gonna turn out delicious. So I'm gonna just add that in there. And all the time when you're watching, you'll see that my ingredient list will always be reflective of any little changes I've made. Even if you don't quite see them at the beginning in the ingredient list, It'll always be in the directions listed below. So we're just gonna add that, and I'm gonna simmer that for another 3 to 4 minutes, and then I'll take that off the heat. So this is ultimately what my sauce ended up looking like after I added that heavy cream. Y'all, I know y'all see that. That was highly beneficial to this sauce. Came out really even, really smooth. If you don't like cream, you could also do just like an almond milk or anything like that. Just always remember to be inventive and be creative when you're doing a recipe, and alter it for how you would like it done, because that's how you create lots of new things. This is an important step you want to take. Dry off your fish before you season it, before we're searing it, because this will make a difference in getting a nice crispy sear. Now, if you don't get that nice brown crispy sear, it won't make a difference in the flavor, but it looks really nice for presentation. So right now we're just going to take that house blend again and sprinkle these on all sides before we sear them. And while we're doing this, our pan is heating up on a high heat because we want it extremely hot before we add this fish to the pan. So if you see, my pan is extremely hot right now, and that's what you're going for. My oil is already heated, so I am going to go ahead and place my Chilean sea bass down and hope for a nice sear. While we're pan searing these Chilean sea bass, you want to cook each side for about 4 to 5 minutes, or until that you know you have that golden color. Now you can definitely go ahead and check and move it over and check a little bit and see what the color is looking like. And if it's not as dark as you'd like it, keep it down. But about 4 to 5 minutes is generally good, because sea bass, or pretty much any fish, really does not take that long to cook. So you just want to make sure you don't overcook it. It's been about 5 minutes, so we are gonna go ahead and flip these. And I did check just to make sure I had a sear on there first. And this is exactly what we were going for. I know you see it. Look at that nice brown color on there. Now this is delicate, so make sure you just treat that tenderly while you're giving that a flip. And then we're just gonna cook this other side for another 4 to 5 minutes, or until the fish is cooked all the way through. But this is the perfect sear that we were looking for. Our sea bass is done. You can tell that it's done because it's white all the way through. It's not translucent. But if you're new to cooking Chilean sea bass and you don't know when it's done, don't be afraid to use a thermometer just to check the temp of your fish. And you want to be at about 135 to 145 at about a medium rare is what you want to make sure it goes up to. So just remember, you also have to bring our sauce back to the pan and bring that up to temp. So you're also going to get a little bit more carryover cooking from that as well. I am just taking my sea bass out the pan because I just want to get rid of this excess oil, and I'm just going to clean my pan before I add my sauce back and get everything all mixed up here. But just take a look at that beautiful color. We were lucky enough to get a really nice sear on each side of the fish. Not that you need that, but it sure does look pretty. I cleaned our pan out here, and I am just adding the sauce that we made earlier back to our pan so we can bring that back up to temperature. And you're gonna add that Chilean sea bass right to your sauce. And we're just gonna heat all that back up for about 2 to 4 minutes here, and we will be all done. All right, y'all, we are all done. This is gonna be our Chilean sea bass and our tomato basil sauce here. I garnished that with a little Parmesan, which is optional, as well as a little basil. And this came out beautiful. You can pair this with whatever you like, just veggies. This sauce can go well with pasta. I'm gonna put mine with a little rice, and I'll plate that up for you and just show you how it looks. But we are all done. Thank you so much for cooking stuff with Starla McGee today. If you have not already, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube as well as my Instagram. I hope you enjoyed this recipe as much as I did. And if you decide to make it, make sure you hashtag me, and we will see you next time on Cooking Stuff with Starla McGee.